All right. Hey guys, this is the Dihedral Podcast. We're here with Casen, Carrot. We're here with producers Gaia and Clay, and welcome. Today we're here with Aubrey Hodges. She's the record holder for the most female trad climbs at Horseshoe Hell in 24 hours. Welcome, Aubrey.
Thanks so much for having me.
I just want to say this before we get started. Aubrey is sincerely the nicest person I've ever met in my entire life. So not only is she the sickest climber that I've known and one of the most interesting people, she's seriously the nicest person I've ever met. When I was a little kid, I was taught by a nun by the name of Sister Regina, and we were poor. Sister Regina went out of her way to raise thousands of dollars for my family. That woman is a horrible person compared to Aubrey Hodges.
Is that a real story?
Sister Regina.
Carrot, is that a real story?
That is a true story. Aubrey's the nicest.
I have to say that's just like your opinion, man. But thank you so much. That's like extremely kind.
Thank you, Aubrey.
Anyway, so we just kind of want to have you take us through Horseshoe Hell. And so my first question was it hot?
This year was not actually. It was beautiful weather. It was like sunny, kind of overcast at parts. Like it didn't get warmer than like 65, 70 degrees. So it wasn't as hot as I expected it to be in hell.
So before we get too far into things, there's a couple things we were hoping we could explain to the listeners. One, could you just explain what 24 Hours of Horseshoe Hell is, where it is, and what it means?
Yeah. Okay. So this event takes place in Jasper, Arkansas, which is honestly the middle of nowhere, at a little kind of dude ranch called Horseshoe Canyon. And it's kind of what it sounds like. It's 24 hours straight of rock climbing, where people attempt to kind of different goals, anywhere from like getting as many pitches in as they can to climbing as many 5.7s as they can, or climbing as like many difficult routes as they can, because the harder the route is, the more points it's worth. So there's kind of like different goals people have at this event and kind of different like awards and categories. But yeah, just like this big wacky climbing event where people dress up, and you see anything from like guys in like man thongs and fishnets to like women, I don't know, with like crazy leg hair and like dyed armpits, just like kind of a wacky like competition / festival / big party at the end.
So Casen would fit right in, is what you're saying.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you can't see me right now, but my armpits are dyed.
And his fishnets are fresh.
Yeah, he looks wonderful.
All right, so you broke the record for trad climbing in 24 hours. Can you explain to the listeners who might not know the difference between sport climbing and trad climbing what that means?
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of in outdoor climbing, there's a few different styles of routes. There are some where there are fixed bolts and anchors on routes that you kind of clip in with removable gear, but there's like fixed protection on the route, and that's called sport climbing. Trad climbing is where you don't have that. You're following the natural features in the rock, which are usually weaknesses such as cracks or kind of little pockets and stuff, and you're placing removable gear, so gear that you can place on your way up and remove and clean on your way down, so it's not permanent. And they call this trad or traditional climbing. And so the record that I set was for the most trad pitches completed by a female for the comp. The previous record stood at like 124, and I got 136, so just kind of squeaked right past it. Yeah.
That's ridiculous. We looked at the second place finisher who got how many climbs, Casen?
Yeah, so I think she was like 50 climbs behind your 100. You blew her out of the water. So it's like you put up a number that she didn't want to try and beat.
Yeah, and I mean a lot of that I really have to give credit to my partner, because through this comp, a big thing is partnership. So you're not doing this on your own. You're doing this with one partner the whole time. And yeah, my partner, Ian King, like huge shout out and thanks to him. Like I would not have been able to do this without his help. He had done this competition a couple years and before, so he had kind of a good game plan, and he really knew where the routes were and kind of how to like go at them, and also like kind of how to get prepared for it. So yeah, he was a huge help. I think that was that was really my edge over kind of previous records and other females that were kind of going for the same thing. Which as a team, I thought what we did was like way more incredible than what I did as an individual.
Yeah.
We got 276 pitches as a team, so he climbed 140, which was a record for him personally, and then I got 136. So yeah, it was a big day.
Insane. Yeah.
Yeah, so fun.
My question is, so before like the Horseshoe Hell, before the 24 hours, was it like, who am I going to choose to be my partner, or did it just kind of naturally happen?
Oh man, this is a really good story. So actually, Ian owns a mobile resoling company. So he travels around in his van, like towing a trailer, and he sets up shop at like different climbing gyms. And he resoles shoes. So I met him in Flagstaff, where I had kind of lived for the previous 4 years for college. When he came through town, and he resold a pair of my shoes, and like he did a kick-ass job. Like it was like getting a brand new pair of shoes that had like I had holes all the way through them.
Nice.
So I was like, man, this guy's like super legit. And then he's like, oh, I think I'm going climbing with some people at this area called Winslow Wall, which is just incredible. Like one of the most beautiful crags I've ever been to. And I was like, cool, yeah, I'll be there. So we met up and we did some climbing, and I actually like sent a project that I'd been working on. So it was like having just an awesome day. And then he got on the same route. It's called Hanging Judge. It's like this kind of thin crack climb. And he took a really big fall, and I was belaying him, and he just like pulled me really hard into the wall because he weighs a bit more than I do. And I like sliced open my leg. And I ended up having to get like 24 or 25 stitches, something like that. And I had to get like hauled out of the canyon because it's like a rappelling, so you can't just like walk out of the canyon. Like you have to like climb out. So I had to get like hauled out with like ropes and different systems, and like people had to help, and it was ridiculous. And then we like drove like an hour back to Flagstaff, and it was like, okay, I need to go to the ER. Like I had like a hole in my leg. But we like went and like picked up some cheeseburgers and milkshakes first, and then we went to the ER. And that was the only time Ian and I had climbed together before this competition. So it was pretty funny because we're like, wow, the last time did not go well. But I think through that, he really kind of saw me as a valuable partner because I like didn't really freak out about it the whole time. Like I honestly just had this nasty hole in my leg, and I was like, it's cool, like it happened, whatever, like we're just gonna get through this. And I like wasn't really like tearing up or freaking out or anything. That he was like, she seems like messed up enough to be good at this other thing. So yeah.
So
I was just gonna say,
perfect.
Just to summarize, he almost killed you, and you're like, you know what? It's a good idea to climb with this man for 24 straight hours, placing gear.
Yeah.
All right, makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
So have you climbed with him like any more since then?
Yeah, actually, a few trips. I met him out in Chattanooga for Thanksgiving, and then I like flew out to North Carolina, kind of where he's from and spends part of his year at. And I climbed at like Rumbling Bald and some places there, kind of right before Christmas. Yeah, so we spent some quality time not suffering together.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get into the day in just a couple minutes, but
Wonderful.
I want to ask a couple of questions ahead of time. Did you train at all specifically to climb through 24 hours, or did you just approach it and?
It depends what you mean by training. I like started running like 2 weeks before this, and at the gym I would just like try and get a bunch of pitches in. Like before Cypress opened, we had like some routes out, and I just climbed like all the routes downstairs, like at least trying, like even the hard ones, just like trying to get up them. But that was probably like a week before, so I don't think it really counts, but maybe mentally it helped me. But yeah, honestly, I didn't do anything physically for it. I've had some really big days out climbing where I was like on routes that were like 14 pitches, like with like 5 pitches of 512 on them and like gnarly approaches and stuff. So I kind of just like compared this competition to previous experiences, like climbing in Red Rocks or in Yosemite. Just like, cool, I know it's going to be a big day, and like you just go and do it. You just like kind of suck it up and pretend like you're having fun and just keep going. So yeah.
And it's not everybody can get in. There's a lottery process to get in, right?
Yeah. I got, again, Ian was a vendor for the event because he kind of was picking up shoes at the event, as well as gave some like prizes that were like a gift certificate for a free resole. So we got in because he's a vendor. So yeah,
All right.
lucked in.
So it's the night before.
Mm-hmm.
You're about to climb for 24 straight hours with a person who the last time you met him almost killed you. What's happening when you go to bed?
I was feeling a lot of different things. Yeah, like we'd spent the whole day kind of preparing for it. Like we stashed water and food and ropes and racks kind of all over the like different spots we knew we were gonna hit, because this canyon's kind of like a U shape. So we kind of at each main wall we'd stash like kind of all that stuff, so we wouldn't have to carry very much with us. So I kind of like that made me feel pretty prepared. But I was like already kind of like super emotional going into this event because I kind of had some like personal stuff going on before that, and yeah, it like set me up to kind of be in a really weird place. It wasn't like the most positive or sure about how everything was gonna go. Like I kind of had the mindset where like I'm gonna try and do this and see what happens, and no matter what happens, I'm just gonna support Ian and make sure that he like gets in as many routes as he can, because like I'm not gonna like bail on my partner no matter how I'm feeling. So that was kind of like, okay, like I'm gonna try my best, and if I just can't do it, then I'm just gonna support Ian. So yeah, I wasn't too certain about anything going into this.
Awesome. So, I guess that kind of leads me to my next question: is do you want to tell us a little bit about like what led up to that headspace that you were in before you went into this like insane day?
Yeah, it was really crazy. My mom had been fighting an illness for a really long time. She's like diagnosed with like ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, when I was like 11. And she actually passed away a month before this event. And it was something I had like talked to her about quite frequently. I'm like, yeah, I think I'm gonna like go and like try and set this record and do this. And like she was just so excited for me. But yeah, kind of like with her passing, and it was expected but unexpected. Like she was kind of had been like looking up for a few days, and like her eyes were clear, and like she was just like looking better and happier, and like had like more of a will to live than like previous months. So it was like really like hit hard when she did pass, just because it was like one morning she just wasn't there anymore. And yeah, it's been really weird, and it still is really weird, but each day gets a little bit easier. But yeah, so my mindset going into this was I was honestly still in shock. Like I wasn't feeling very much. Like I was kind of in the stage of grief where I'm like, is any of this real? I'm just like kind of floating through life at that point. But yeah, so it was set it up to be just kind of all around a crazy experience for me that ultimately ended up really well.
Yeah, and I definitely want to get into that mindset more, but I think I want to save it.
Yeah.
So talk about. I just kind of want to. We kind of want to take this an hour by hour breakdown almost. So what is it? Did they line you up at the beginning with like a ribbon and like a starting line, and they say go and they fire a gun, or like how did it start?
Okay, so we put on our sort of wacky costumes. We had like lion shirts because one of their big things is like the catchphrase is like be a lion in a field of lions, and they like kind of get everyone together in like this main field area outside of like the outpost. And Jeremy Collins, he's like a professional climber / artist / wacky personality. He kind of like led this marching band from like the local high school through the crowd of people, including like the men in like thongs and stuff, these poor high school kids. From like conservative Arkansas. Yeah. And so this marching band just like came through, and then like they kind of like went over some vague rules and like blah blah blah. You guys have all read the book by now. If you haven't, like too late. And then you do like you face your partner, and you like put up like one hand like Scout's honor, and you have like a partner like promise that like Jeremy leads you through, and you're like, partner, like I will not drop you, and like partner, I will still be laughing at your stupid jokes at 2 a.m. like just all this like silly stuff. And then from there at 10 a.m. A guy fires a shotgun, and that indicates that you have until 10 a.m. on Saturday to complete as many routes or as hard of routes or whatever your goal is for the comp. Yeah.
All right, so the shot goes off. Can you explain what you ate beforehand, like what kind of food did you
Oh man,
kind of
yeah.
carb up on, or
Mhm.
however you did it, and then go right through your first climb. Like, did you know what climb you were going to do first? Did you have
Yeah.
the gear in order and ready to go? And then how were you feeling going into your first climb?
And did you feel that food in your stomach when you?
Yes. So I ate a breakfast burrito from the Outpost. It was pretty good. I
Solid
definitely did not finish it. The next morning I had like 2.
Nice.
But yeah, it was just kind of feeling like weird and like hadn't slept super well. Like there's just kind of like a lot of like, I don't know, like alertness going on and happening around me. So yeah, the gun goes off. We take off running actually to go to like the east side of this canyon. And we had like stashed our gear and we like roughly knew what our first route was. So we hopped on that, and the climbing through this, it's not the most safe. Like this is not a recommended way to do anything. Like I don't, and you probably need a warning,
Warning, yeah.
before this. Like warning.
Do not try this at the crag.
Yeah, please do not. But basically, so we get on the first route, and Ian leads it. So he's like placing gear in as he goes up, and then like I lower him, and he was actually like not even tied in. Like we had a locker with like a triple fisherman's at the end of it. So we're just like taking turns like clipping in and out of the locker, so it's like faster. So I lower him as soon as his feet like touch the ground. I like feed him a bunch of slack. He starts to pull the rope. I like take the gree off, throw it on the ground, and then I start pulling the rope. And once I start pulling the rope, he starts climbing, and then I get him on belay before the anchor, and then like lower him back down, and then we switch, and then I do the same thing.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Did you have to set protection for each time?
No, so actually the first person set protection, and then whoever was going second just clipped in, so you could pink point the route, rather versus a red point, which is where like you're placing your own gear as you go up. This is the gear is still trad gear and removable. However, it's already placed in the wall by your partner or by me on the way up.
So in the beginning, when you're kind of fresh and maybe climbing up something below your threshold, do you tend to not place as much protection, or do you still place as much as you normally would?
So for this event, most of the trad routes are rated anywhere from 5'2" to up to 5'11". So 5'11" is like the hardest pitch that we climbed, and 5'2" is the easiest. But yeah, so most of them are probably more in the like 5'6" to 5'9" range. So the rule in the comp is you have to place at least 2 pieces of gear in order for it to count. Otherwise, it counts as a free solo, and that's not allowed for the comp. So most of our pitches probably had just around 2 pieces of gear.
Oh, no. So your weight belts were not that weighted down with gear and protection.
No, we had like a pretty light rack because we knew we were going to be moving quite quick, and also like really comfortably, like over that terrain that I've like climbed a bunch of. So yeah, we were running it out for sure.
So the hours are going by,
Mhm.
you know, the clock's ticking, and you're moving fast. Were there any close calls?
No, honestly, 0. There was never a point where I'm like felt really run out and felt like I was uncomfortable or scared or thought that I was gonna slip. The only thing I fell on was 5'11", which we'll get to that hour. That was hour 18 at like 4:30 in the morning. That was the only thing I fell on. And besides that, it was like, no, I felt very comfortable the whole time. I had gone a few weeks prior to try some of the like 5'10" stuff with Morgan from the gym, our wonderful route slider / coach. And so I felt really comfortable on kind of the style of the rock and everything. And another thing are these like rock climbs, they're not very tall. Like we had a 35-meter rope almost the whole time, except for on the west side of the canyon. And then we had a 50-meter rope. So none of these are like, you're not climbing like 70 to 100 feet with 2 pieces of gear. You're climbing like 30 to 40 feet. So that is part of the reason why you're able to like get so many pitches in.
Yeah, but still, I don't think anyone has done any one thing for like 24 hours, like much less rock climbing, you know? Like, that's not only a physical toll, but it's a mental toll too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So was there a point where you and Ian sat down, you're like, we need to do this many routes per hour if we're going to break this record?
Yeah, not exactly, no. We kind of knew like what pace we had to keep. Like we were really hoping to get through like the east side of the canyon because we were just like going down the road with routes, like just down the wall, like not skipping over anything, just like anything that was a trad climb, like we were getting on it unless it was like 512. So yeah, we were just like, let's hope to like finish this around this time and then go to the North 40 and finish that around this time. And but we didn't really sit down and like come up with a numerical, like we need to climb exactly 7.5 pitches each per hour, which I think that's what it was like you need to climb like as a team like 14 pitches per hour to get it.
All right, so you're in hour 3. You've done 21 routes. How are you feeling?
I was feeling great. Like in the beginning, I was just feeling amazing. Like we were flying through these routes. Like we probably had climbed more at that point. Like we started over at the east side of the canyon around, I'm gonna say, like we got probably to the base, started the first rock climb right at 10:15 because it's a little bit of a hike, which started off as a run and then slowed to a walk. But yeah, I think we were done with the east side of the canyon right around like 2:30, 3 p.m., maybe a bit earlier even, and that was like 50 routes each. So
all right.
it was,
So as the hours are going by, what was the hour you think that maybe you hit that first wall, like where you started to think, okay, I'm getting a little tired?
I noticed that Ian was feeling not as great, probably right around 10:30, 11 p.m. So kind of right past like the 12-hour mark, where we were over at the North 40. So we'd moved on. It was dark. It had been dark for hours, and it was crowded. There are like, they limit the number of people that do this comp for a very good reason, because it's just, there's a lot of people and a lot of like chaos and things that could end up to be not very safe. But yeah, so he was kind of like getting annoyed with the people around us, and just kind of like a little like, I don't know, tired sounding right around then. And I was still just like, no, like, let's do it. Like Moose Jaw's handing out bacon, like just keep going. Like we're just like eating and like drinking water the whole time. But then for me, we kind of like, we called it the wobble zone. Whenever you started to kind of decline and you were not feeling as good, you started to wobble. So he was like in the wobble zone for a little bit, and then he was on his way out, and then I hit the wobble zone around 4:30 in the morning when I got on that 511 that I had mentioned previously. I don't even remember the name of it. It was like such a dumb route. Like it was like overhung, like right trending, like 0.75s and number ones crack, so it's like a little bit smaller than your hands, and it makes, since it's like right trending and a little bit overhung, you like don't have very many feet. So just like really hard on the arms. And like at that point I realized that I had drank way too much Red Bull and not eaten enough food, and I was like, oh, I'm tired. So that was like hour 18. I was like, oh man, okay, I'm feeling it. And then from there it kind of stayed rough. Like we had climbed over, or we'd almost hit 100 routes at midnight. So we were like flying, like going so fast. And then after that, so like for the next, like, what was that, like math. So from midnight to 10, so that was 8 more hours. We had 8 more hours where it was like it slowed down. So like in those 8 hours I climbed like 36 pitches or a little over that, maybe like 40 pitches, and then he climbed like just like over 40 as well. So it was like, yeah, we really slowed down. And I mean, part of that is like the routes got taller and a little bit harder, but also like, yeah, I got really tired at that point. So yeah, I was like crying on a 5.7 at like 5 in the morning. Just like, this is the hardest thing ever. And like there are these like awesome guys who like I didn't really know who they were at the time, but then after I was like, oh wait, like you used to climb at Inspire. Like some guy moved to Colorado but had used to climb at the gym that I like worked at, and like yeah, so it was like really tough for those last few hours. Like I just had to keep going, and like definitely the support of like people around me and like the volunteers and Ian was just like, cool, like just gotta keep going, just gotta do this, put my head down for a little bit, like ignore everything my body's telling me. Which yeah, just like we just finished as strong as we could. I think like the gun went off like a minute before, a minute after I like finished my last route. Like I was like taking my shoes off, and we were like packing everything up, getting ready to like hopefully walk back to turn in our scorecards, but it turned into a run back. But yeah, so those last couple hours, those were tough. I was in the wobble zone the whole time.
So basically what I've learned is all those Red Bull sponsored athletes don't just drink Red Bull before they go on
there's
climbs.
more
That's
than that.
fake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you need a little bit more. Maybe the sugar-free Red Bull, like you wouldn't crash as hard, but I wasn't very excited about aspartame, so I stayed away.
Yeah. And then my other question is, is there a party going on while you're climbing?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me about that. Like, you're climbing, you're trying to stay focused, you're dog shit tired, you're ready to go lay like your head down on a pillow and in the tent or whatever. How is that hearing some trap remix going off behind you and you're just like out in the dark with a headlamp?
You can kind of take that like one of two ways. So like I definitely saw some people who were like super intoxicated, just having a great time, like loving life, and then the people around them were pissed. Like they were like, get out of here, like we're trying to get this done, like yeah, like they were just like super angry about it. But I really kind of like followed Ian's lead on this one, and just like chose to have a good attitude about everything. Like things I couldn't control, just like who cares, get over it, just gotta keep going and like pretend to smile or like just laugh at it or make a ridiculous joke and just have fun. Like that was the biggest thing. Like that was a big difference I saw between us and some other teams that were kind of having some problems. Was we were just like laughing and joking and like being ridiculous the whole time. Like we just had really good attitudes, and like the partiers like we would like woo with them or like just like have fun and like dance for a second. So we just like tried to have as much fun as we could, and like let go of things that were out of our control, like crazy drunk bros or girls screaming. Like they're like, cool, they're having fun, I'm psyched for them, just like keep going, keep doing my thing. Yeah.
So in addition to being one of the nicest people in the world, which we all know now, another thing you guys should probably know about Aubrey is that she enjoys food probably more than most people. We were climbing around each other one time. We didn't start off together, but we ended up kind of together. And we were working on this route that's like a 512 or something like that. It wasn't really. It's a project for me. I think Aubrey warms up on it. But while she's climbing, I don't even know where she pulled it out. Or she pulled out, it was like a maybe 3-foot French baguette. And then in her chalk bag was a thing of Nutella. And she just kept digging it in there. As she's like hanging off one arm fake. Before she goes.
I forgot about this.
You've never seen anything as hilarious as a 3-foot French bread. So I was wondering, as you're going through the day, what kind of food do you have stashed for you? And I'm telling you, like when you watch Aubrey just look at a piece of bread, it's just like you feel good about Earth and the planet and everything's going to be all right. So yeah, tell us about the food throughout the night and throughout the day.
Okay. That was amazing. I completely forgot about that. I didn't have any 3-foot baguettes. That was probably what my problem was. I just needed to eat a 3-foot piece of bread, and then I would have been fine the whole time.
You would have broke the record.
For sure. I would have broke the male record.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so we stashed some different stuff. Anywhere from like weird bars and jerky and fruit and like healthy stuff to like chocolate bars and goldfish and like things that were gonna make you happy. But we definitely also tried to like get some real food into our systems. So like Patagonia was like, there's a bunch of different sponsors for this event, but like Patagonia is passing out tacos and like Moose Jaw had bacon, and like we sent a volunteer to go like buy pizza, and like we did like a few different things that were like kind of more like a real meal. So that helped a lot, I think. But I definitely ate like a bunch of bars and goldfish, and salami. That was a big one. Mm-hmm.
Sounds real. That's great.
And then at 4:30 when I was crying on 5-7, I just had to eat a chocolate bar.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. That's all it takes sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then on maybe a more personal note, was there ever a time when you were climbing where you just thought of your mom, where you're just like, look, we're doing this together?
Yeah, I kind of felt like I had some different things from her. Like she was just like the strongest person I knew. Like by far. Like, she had this illness for a really long time and was like physically handicapped, and like really struggling, and I never heard her complain. Like, a little bit at the very end, but like she never complained. Like, she was just positive and like chose to like be as happy as she could in her situation. So I think definitely I like learned some of that strength from her, as well as, yeah, I think part of the reason I cracked at like 4:30 in the morning was it was exhaustion, but I think I was also like just feeling a lot, and I hadn't been feeling very much up to that point. So I think maybe a little bit of that for sure. It was some like tears and I don't know, different feelings I was having was probably a bit from her. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think that's definitely something I can relate to because, I've had family members that been lost to disease. And I guess my question would be, what would you say to somebody that maybe is going through the same thing, can't get into horseshoe hell,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe doesn't have that like release that I'm assuming maybe helped you. What would you say to that person?
Ask for help. Don't try and do this by yourself. Like, people are really strong and really capable on their own, but like, we're better together. And just when you need that friend to like vent to, or the friend to just give you a big hug or like bring you tacos, just like, everyone is more loved than what they realize. And just kind of do your best to realize it a bit more and ask for help and ask for support, and also express yourself. Like, there's really nothing healthy about holding like your feelings and emotions in. Just like experience them, and I think that in itself can be really healing. A family member puts it as like kind of some of the grief that I feel from like time to time. That's like kind of my way of expressing love for my mom now, that she's like not here to express it. So it's kind of like a weird, almost like frustrated way to express love. But just like expressing myself, asking for help. Those are some big things I would say for sure.
And then did Ian know, what had happened? Because it kind of turns into it's kind of cool because climbing is almost kind of like a metaphor for exactly what you just said. It's find help. You can't do this by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You literally can't do this by yourself. You're there having to rely on your partner. Like, find somebody to talk to.
Yeah. Honestly, I had like posted a little blurb on social media about it, and kind of from that it was like, cool, now I don't have to tell people all the time, because sometimes that's a weird thing to be like, hey, like, my mom died. Like, it's kind of a weird thing to have to express. I'm still like getting used to that. So yeah, I actually hadn't told him until like, I want to say like 2 weeks before the comp, maybe even less than that. Like, I know I had to be like, hey, like, this is where I'm coming from, and I don't quite know how I'm going to react. I might do really well, and like, this might be a really healing experience for me, or this might be really difficult. Like, can't make any promises about what I can do personally. However, like, I know no matter what happens, I'm going to be able to support you. That's just like kind of who I am. Like, I would never, I don't know, want to bring someone else's experience down because of like something that was out of their control. So I'm like, I felt like I could, no matter how I was feeling, I was going to be able to like control my situation enough to like support him as well as I could. And he was like, okay, like, it's cool. Like, we're just going to do our thing and we're going to have fun. Like, I don't really care what happens. Like, he was just super supportive. Like, he's a wonderful person. But yeah, so yeah, I kind of let him know, I want to say like a week or two before. Mm-hmm.
So there's one thing you kind of glossed over, which I think is kind of interesting. The gun goes off to end the night. You only have 15 minutes to get back, or you start losing routes. Is that right?
Yeah, they take away points like after 15 minutes. You like start to lose. I don't know how many points it is, but yeah. So you like really have to turn in your scorecard then. Which there's kind of two different formats. So there's like a paper scorecard, which is what we were using, and then there's like a phone app that also does the scorecard thing. So I either have to like get on the Wi-Fi and like turn it in, or like hand in your paper scorecard. So yeah, like kind of right as the gun went off, we were like still packing things up. We're like, okay, cool, like time to go. So we literally ran down to like turn in our scorecard, and we made it back with probably like at least 5-10 minutes to spare, so we were fine with that. But yeah, we ran back.
So you ended 24-hour climbing with just
Yeah.
a sprint back to turn in your
Yep.
scorecard. You turn in the scorecard. What happens next?
How wide were their eyes when they saw that number?
I mean, the volunteers were pretty overwhelmed, so I don't think they like really took into account until they went into like score like counting. But yeah, like there were a few people we had met through like the duration of the comp, either like volunteers or like other climbers who were like, this is our goal, like we're just gonna see what happens, who like came and like handed me beer and was like, did you do it, like what happened? And I was super happy at that point. Like I was like, yeah, like I did what I wanted to do. We were close to what we wanted to do as a team. Kind of our goal was like to be right around the 300 mark, which we didn't quite get to, but we were close, so we were super happy with that. And yeah, so there's some different people I'd met who were just like super supportive and like so psyched for me, and like same thing with Ian, like he was just like beyond stoked because the year previous he had climbed like 136 pitches, so he was like, you did like what I did last year, and like this is your first year, like that's nuts. Like he was just like blown away. He was super excited.
Yeah, I want to put this into a little bit of perspective, like for people who maybe don't completely understand how much you climbed. She climbed 6,180 feet. If you've seen free solo, El Cap is 2,900 feet from bottom to top. So that's more than double the size of El Cap in under 24 hours. So to put that into some more perspective, most people don't climb El Cap in one day. Most people climb that 2,900 feet in like 3 or 4 days, 5 or 6 days. So that's incredible. It's a lot of climbing.
Yeah, I have to say a couple of things about that. One that I think is like super cool is like I climbed over a vertical mile, because like what is a mile like 5,000?
That's right. I
Yeah.
didn't even think about over a vertical mile.
Yeah, so like
how
joined,
high
like,
do planes fly?
I don't know.
30,000. Okay, that's
I'm a little bit off there.
So
But-
almost to a plane.
Yeah.
It's a bit higher.
But yes, but then the other thing about like kind of comparing that to El Cap is it's kind of two different things. So like we were single pitch climbing, so we were kind of like coming up, going back down. Like the logistics of that were very simple. Everything was free climbing, and most of it was like around like the 5-7 range. Whereas like something like El Cap, like the aid climbing on that, the logistics, like get all your gear up. Aid climbing super slow compared to free climbing. The climbing's a lot harder on that. So like definitely by height, it makes sense to like compare those two. But yeah, kind of two different beasts.
All right, what do you say to people who are just like, why?
Because why not? I mean,
it's there.
Because it's there, yeah. Yeah, I there's a lot of different answers to why. I think like a big one is I find it really enjoyable to push past my personal limits, like the limits that I think I set for myself, or society sets for myself, or this, that, or the other, whatever it is. Like it's really fun to just be like, no, I'm just gonna keep going. Like I don't care what my brain's telling me. I don't care like how I feel. Like I'm just gonna keep going and like deciding to continue, and like I don't know, I just feel like probably everyone is so much more capable than like what they think they are, because they put these like boundaries and like hard limits on themselves, and like you can just like, I don't know, ignore a few things and then like do so much more than what you like could have ever imagined. Like if you would have like found me like 6 years ago hiking out like to Enchanted Rock, like dying, literally like full on like bent over wheezing, being like, this is the hardest thing I'm ever gonna do, then I would have been like, oh hell no, like this is not possible. But kind of the different experiences I mentioned before, like climbing a few big walls and like some alpine rounds and stuff like that, I kind of knew how to suffer, which is a thing that not everyone knows that they're capable of, because they don't put themselves in those uncomfortable situations. But yeah, I really like to like throw away whatever I think I'm capable of and just be like, oh wait, no, there's more.
That's really interesting. There's like an ancient Greek word, thumos, which describes that perfectly. It's like this idea that your reason might take you to a certain point, but there's like an inner drive within you that's like, no, you don't really get to quit. Like, you don't know what you're capable of until you push yourself to the end. So I think you described that perfectly. I'm wondering if you're going to try to defend the title.
Yes. I was a few points. I was like, oh, I should say something about this, but I'm like, no, I'm sure they're gonna lead up to it. But literally on the run down to turn in our scorecards, we were like, this is what we're gonna do different next year. Like, we need to change this around and like move these couple of things and like maybe start on a different side of the canyon. Like, yeah, like 100%. I'm doing this next year. Ian's doing this next year. I really hope we're doing this together unless like something happens. Yeah, so definitely their plans. It'd be really cool to climb 300 pitches like together, like 150 each. Like that would be awesome. And another goal we have is maybe next year, maybe never, maybe sometime, who knows. It'd be really cool to like for me to win most female trad pitches and then him most male trad pitches, and then like as a team we'd like win most trad pitches, just like sweep the whole category. That would be epic. Yeah, there are definitely plans to continue to do this for whatever reason.
And I think we have a little bit of time left, but I really want to get this in. Your name for your team.
Yep.
I don't even want. I feel like I want you to say it.
Oh no, okay. First off, I'm sorry, Mom and Dad. When they asked about like the name, I'm like, oh yeah, all my hexes live in Texas, and they're like, oh, that's cute, because like a hex is a kind of like climbing gear. Okay, so our team name was All My Hexes Live in Texas with My Exes that I'd still have sex with. Yep.
So you had the funniest name award. Did you also have the longest name award?
Did we?
Well,
I
it
know.
beats Chicken Head Surfers. That's for sure.
Okay. Cool.
So much better than Chicken Head Surfers.
I don't think they didn't call it. Sorry, keep going. We didn't win that prize at the actual comp.
Oh, there's actual prizes.
Yeah, there is.
In my opinion.
Okay, thank you. In my opinion as well.
Awesome. And then I want to say one more thing, in that like part of what we're doing like as the dihedral is we want to show people that climbing isn't just for the Alex Honolds. It's not just for these like incredible climbers who are doing these incredible things. It's for like normal people.
It's for literally anyone who wants to climb.
Right, exactly. It's for anyone that has the guts to walk into a climbing gym, And so I guess my last question for you would be, what would you say to someone who's maybe considering climbing, but maybe thinks it's too hard, it's not for me? What would you say to that person?
A few things. First, I think climbers sometimes do a really poor job of like comparing ourselves too much to other people around us. Like I think there's space for that, and humans are a little bit naturally competitive. However, like I think just letting go of your ego and realizing you're never going to be the best, and enjoying that in of itself, like just like letting go of your ego and being like, cool, like that dude at the climbing gym is pulling way harder than me, or like that little girl is pulling way harder than me, and just like realizing that like you're your own climber, and you like are gonna improve differently and be good at different things compared to other people, and to just like enjoy it, because we're literally climbing up things to come back down. Like it is the most pointless activity in the universe, like for sure. It accomplishes nothing, like zero displacement, and that's what's beautiful about it, because it is so pointless. Like you can just choose.
I'm feeling that hard right now.
You can just like choose to enjoy it and just experience this like beautiful thing, that like can serve as a higher purpose for like different things, like building confidence and like meeting new people and different things like that. It like has this like awesome thing it can do, but also like it's just so fun. Like just enjoy the movement, enjoy the people you're around, enjoy the experience, and just don't like put that sort of pressure on yourself, because it's not gonna help. Yes, I think someone who's struggling to walk through the doors of the climbing gym, like it is the most fun thing, which I think, in my biased opinion, involves some of the most wonderful people, who are like a big disjointed dysfunctional family that's just gonna like support you and love you. And yeah, so just like go in, try it. The worst thing that's gonna happen is you're not gonna like it, and then you can leave. But like it's just this wonderful experience that that's open to whoever wants it.
Awesome. And then I think we kind of decided as a group that we want to have you back on because we need to talk about your van, and we don't have enough time right now to do that. So tell us in a couple sentences.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Tell us about your van, and yeah.
Okay, so I just bought a high top Ford Transit van. I know, woohoo! I'm in a lot of debt. Yes. Like paying rent for the next 5 years. But yeah, and I'm building it out with my dad and some different friends who are helping. And I'm a homeowner at 22. I'm gonna move into that full time. Looking to make some moves. And hopefully find some work outside of Texas. So yeah, I'm building it up kind of quick and gonna move in soon.
So we'll have to have you back on and have you
that'd be great.
So is there anything that you want to plug? Like you want to plug an Instagram? You want to plug like a side hustle?
Yeah, sure. It's not mine though. Go check out On-Site Resoles and support your dirtbag resoler who travels around and does an amazing job cobbling shoes. He is on Instagram, On-Site Resoles or On-Site Ian. Yeah, go check it out.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, for listening.
Thanks, Aubrey.
Thanks so much.